The first time I saw one of these guns fire, the shockwave hit me in the chest from 20 feet away, and that wasn't even the biggest one on the list. Today, we're stepping way past our everyday 9mm into a world where recoil isn't just something you manage, it's something you respect. From revolvers built to stop a charging bear to tactical beasts that feel like they belong in a war zone, every one of these handguns brings something wild to the table. But here's the thing, somewhere in this list is a model so absurd, so overbuilt, that it made me question if I even wanted to pull the trigger a second time. We're counting down from number 13 to the king of them all, and trust me, you won't see the winner coming. If the gun world had a category called "Are You Serious?", the Magnum Research BFR would own it. I'll never forget the first time I saw one in action. We were out at a dusty open-air range when a guy 3 lanes down unzipped a case and pulled out what looked like a chrome-plated chunk of artillery. Everyone stopped loading mags. You could feel the thing before he even fired. Then, boom! Not a bang, not a pop. A rolling shockwave that made your chest vibrate and rattled the brass in your range bag. He was firing 45 to 70 government, a cartridge meant for dropping elk at 100 yards out of a revolver. Here's the thing, it's not just a ridiculous party trick. The BFR is built like a bank vault. The single action trigger is glass rod crisp, the fit and finish flawless, and the recoil, while definitely hold on to your hat territory, is surprisingly manageable if you know what you're doing. I watched him ring a steel plate at 100 yards offhand twice. The crowd actually stopped shooting just to watch. That's the kind of respect this gun demands. Sure, the ammo's pricey, and some range officers will give you the look, but in bear country or just for bragging rights, nothing else comes. And if you think that's overkill, wait until you see what happens when you shrink that kind of power into a semi-auto you can actually carry. After watching that BFR thunder away, you might think stepping down in size would feel tame, but here's the truth. The Smith & Wesson M&P 10mm M2.0 doesn't feel like a downgrade, it feels like strapping a rocket booster to a carry gun. My first time behind one wasn't at a range, it was on a hog hunt in Texas. My buddy handed it to me like it was passing over a set of car keys and said, "You're gonna want this." 10 minutes later, a 250-pound boar came crashing through the mesquite at about 30 yards. One squeeze, clean hit, and that hog dropped mid-charge. That's when I understood why people swear by the 10mm. The M&P 10mm M2.0 takes everything S&W fans already love. The ergonomic grip angle, the low bore axis, and the durability, then adds the kind of stomping power you can actually take into the backcountry. The grip texture is aggressive enough to lock you in without shredding your hands, and with 15+1 capacity, you're carrying a lot of firepower without hauling a brick. Recoil? Yep, you'll feel it. This isn't a soft 9mm, but the trigger is clean with a crisp audible reset, so these follow-up shots come faster than you'd think. And the optics ready slide means you can throw on a red dot and have a rig ready for defense, hunting, or just dominating steel at the range. It's the kind of pistol that feels equally at home in a chest rig in bear country or in a nightstand drawer. And speaking of backcountry power, the next one is what happens when European engineering meets bring enough gun philosophy. The Sig Sauer P227 doesn't shout for attention, it earns it. In a world obsessed with slim polymer 9mm, this is a double-stacked 45 ACP built with Sig's signature all-metal heft and precision. The first time I shot one was during a defensive pistol class. Surrounded by polymer pistols, I felt like I brought a classic muscle car to a lineup of Teslas, but after the first few strings, the results spoke. Tight groups, soft recoil for a 45, and a trigger that broke like a glass rod in single action. It carries 10 plus 1 rounds, but the grip doesn't feel like a 2x4. The DASE action is smooth, predictable, and paired with the weight, making follow-up shots surprisingly fast. One retired cop told me he carried the P227 for years because it never lied to me. Flawless reliability in any condition. It's heavier than polymer rivals and not optics ready, but if you appreciate steel frames, real hammers, and authoritative 45 power, this is a hidden gem. The Ruger Redhawk convertible is more than a revolver, it's a stainless steel tank with a trigger. Built to handle full house 45 Magnum loads without flinching, it also offers a twist. Swap cylinders and you can shoot 45 Colt. I met a hunter in Alaska carrying one while salmon fishing. His reason was simple. If a brown bear decided to crash the party, the Redhawk would still work after a dunk in icy water. That's the kind of trust you can't fake. Double action is service grade, single action is crisp, and the heft soaks up recoil beautifully. Adjustable sights make zeroing easy, and the frame takes a variety of aftermarket grips to fit any hand. It's big, it's heavy. Concealment isn't happening unless you're wearing a trench coat. But for woods carry, hunting backup, or sheer range fun, it's built to outlast you. Strength, versatility, and confidence in one massive package. Few pistols make strangers stop mid-magazine dump just to watch, but the Desert Eagle Mark 19 and 50 AE will. You don't just shoot this gun, you announce it. The blast hit you in the chest, the muzzle flash looks like it could start a campfire, and that weight alone tells you this isn't for casual plinking. I remember the first time I touched one off an outdoor range. The crack was so sharp, a guy 3 lanes down yelled, "What on earth was that?" The slide cycles with a mechanical clunk you feel in your bones, and the recoil, while strong, isn't unmanageable thanks to the gun's gas system and hefty frame. Still, after 2 magazines, you'll know you've been working your forearms. Accuracy is excellent for such a massive handgun. The fixed barrel design and polygonal rifling make it more than just a novelty, it's a legitimate hunting pistol. I've seen it drop hogs and deer cleanly with a single shot. The downside is obvious. 50 AE ammo isn't cheap or common, and this brick of steel isn't gonna be in your waistband. Verdict though? It's a power statement with a trigger. The gun you don't just own, you show off. But as big as the Desert Eagle feels, the next revolver proves you can get that same crowd stomping effect with a different kind of firepower and faster reloads than you'd expect. If the Desert Eagle is the loud rock concert of the handgun world, the Smith & Wesson Model 610 is a perfectly tuned live blues band. Powerful, precise, and just as capable of stealing the show. Chambered in 10mm auto, this stainless steel end frame revolver is a rare bridge between semi-auto performance and revolver reliability. The 610 uses moon clips, which means reloads are shockingly fast for a wheel gun. I've watched competitive shooters blaze through stages with it, swapping a full cylinder almost as fast as swapping a mag. The bonus? You can drop in 40 S&W for cheaper practice, making it a true 2 caliber workhorse. In hand, it's all S&W goodness. Smooth double action pull, crisp single action brake. The weight of the all-steel frame makes full power 10mm loads surprisingly comfortable, with recoil more of a push than a snap. The grip frame accommodates a variety of aftermarket grips, so you can fine-tune comfort whether you've got bare paws or smaller hands. Accuracy is classic end frame. Ringing steel at 50 yards feels effortless. I once took one on a backcountry hike loaded with heavy 10mm hard cast, and it rode on my hip like a quiet insurance policy against anything with claws or teeth. It's not concealable unless your idea of low profile is a parka, but for hunting backup, range fun, or defense in the wild, it's built to last generations. And while the 610 blends modern ballistics with classic revolver charm, the next gun on our list swings the pendulum back to pure big bore semi-auto dominance. It was the last day of deer season, and I was trudging through the frostbitten underbush with nothing to show for 3 days of freezing. That's when I heard it. Not a deer, but the low, deliberate crunch of boots behind me. Not a deer, but the low, deliberate crunch of boots. Not a deer, but the low, deliberate crunch of boots behind me. My hunting partner had caught up, grinning like he had just pulled a rabbit out of a hat. Except it wasn't a rabbit. It was a Kimber R7 Mako chambered in 45 gap. I thought he was joking. The cartridge was practically a ghost in the handgun world, but when a coyote darted across our path, he drew and fired so quickly it felt like the air just cracked. That little pistol had all the Mako's DNAs. Optics cut, aggressive grip texture, flat face trigger, but it carried a big bore personality in a micro compact frame. 9 or 10 rounds of 45 gap in something that size? That's like finding out your pocket knife is secretly a machete. The 45 gap didn't kick like a mule either. The low bore axis and solid ergonomics tamed it. As we hiked on, I kept thinking this wasn't just rare, it was practical in its own strange way. A ghost caliber in a modern carry package. The Kimber R7 Mako in 45 gap is the kind of gun you stumble across and think, where has this been hiding? But some pistols don't just surprise you, they challenge you to push them to the limit. And that's exactly what the FNX-45 Tactical was made for. The FNX-45 Tactical first earned my respect in the middle of a rainstorm, not on a range, but in a remote training course where everything was wet, muddy, and miserable. The instructor dropped his FNX in the mud on purpose, then picked it up and handed it to me while also saying, "Shoot it." It was loaded with subsonic 45 ACP, a suppressor screwed on the threaded barrel. The tall night sights cleared the can, and even soaked in grit, the trigger pulled clean. The first shot felt like a muted sledgehammer, heavy but smooth, the recoil pushing instead of snapping. That was the moment I realized this pistol wasn't just a list of tactical features. Sure, it had the optics ready slide, full ambi controls, 15+1 capacity, and DASA trigger, but more importantly, it wanted to be tested in the worst possible conditions. We shot until the magazine was empty, rain still falling, mud still dripping off the frame. It didn't even choke once. The FNX-45 Tactical isn't built for showing off the range. It's built for the day when everything goes wrong and you still need every shot to count. When I was a kid, my grandfather had a safe in the corner of his study. Most days it stayed locked, but every so often he'd take out a velvet-lined case and let me look inside. Nestled in that deep blue cloth was his pride and joy, a 6-inch Colt Python. He called it the gentleman's revolver. The new Colt Python carries that same aura. It's the modern reincarnation of a revolver that first made its mark in the 1950s, a time when craftsmanship meant something you could feel in your hands. Colt brought it back not as a gimmick, but as a statement. Some legends deserve to be reborn. The 6-inch barrel gave it a long, steady sight radius, making it easier to punch out precise shots whether you're aiming at paper targets or ringing steel at 50 yards. The weight of the full-length barrel keeps recoil in check, turning full-power .357 Magnum into something surprisingly pleasant. And the trigger? The double-action pull is smooth enough to feel mechanically poetry, and the single-action brake is as clean as snapping glass. The stainless steel finish catches the light like jewelry, almost too pretty to shoot, yet built to work through thousands of rounds without complaint. Whether you're a shooter looking for accuracy, a hunter chasing small game, or a collector after a crown jewel, the Colt Python isn't just a revolver, it's an heirloom in the making. The first time I took a 10mm into the mountains, it wasn't for target practice, it was for company. A buddy and I were hiking in black bear country, and my 9mm felt underdressed. That's when I understood the point of a pistol like the Springfield XDM Elite 45-inch OSP. This isn't a gun that asks for permission. With 16 plus 1 rounds of 10mm auto, it's built to handle everything from human threats to four-legged trouble. And yet, despite that big bore power, the polymer frame and well-shaped grip make it a gun you want to shoot, not one you tolerate. The OSB cut means you can drop on a red dot straight from the factory, and if you stick with irons, the fiber optic front sight grabs your attention fast, especially in bright sunlight. Pair that with Springfield's match-grade barrel, and this pistol is as precise as it is potent. The grip texture walks the line between secure and comfortable, so you can train for hours without losing skin. And the meta trigger gives you a short reset with a crisp break. No mush, no grit. Loaded with defensive hollow points for home protection, heavy hard cast for the backcountry, or lighter loads for the range, it'll run them all without complaint. In a world where most pistols specialize, the XDM Elite 10mm feels like the rare one that's ready for anything you dare to throw at it. There's a certain kind of silence you hear in the woods just before dusk, the kind that makes you feel like someone or something's watching. I remember standing at the tree line one autumn evening, wild hog signs all around, the air thick with that electric stiffness. My hands were wrapped around a Smith & Wesson Model 629 Performance Center, and I knew if anything charged out of that bush, I'd have exactly the answer I needed. The 629 isn't shy. It doesn't care about being subtle or blending in. It's a polished stainless steel statement piece chambered in the legendary 44 Magnum. The unfluted cylinder, the weight-forward balance, the glass-smooth trigger, every detail tells you this revolver was tuned for both beauty and brutality. With the 6-inch barrel, 44 Magnum loads hit with bone-crunching authority, yet thanks to the full underlung and performance center tuning, recoil feels more like a shove than a slap. Drop in 44 special and it turns into a smooth shooting range companion, still delivering that deep satisfying boom. It's the kind of gun that ends hunts quickly in your favor. This isn't something you buy to keep hidden. It's something you carry proudly, knowing it's been built to a standard, not to a price tag. If the Colt Python's a gentleman's handshake, the 629 Performance Center is a full-force punch wearing a Rolex. I first shot the P220 Legion on a rainy afternoon at an outdoor match. My buddy handed it over between stages with that grin shooters get when they know you're about to be impressed. By the third shot, I was wondering how a 45 ACP could feel that comfortable, like it wanted to be fired fast and accurately, almost urging me on. The P220 has always been a classic, but in Legion trim, it's something more. A gun that's been dressed in its best suit and then trained like a professional fighter. The Legion gray PVD finish looks like it belongs in a display case, yet shrugs off sweat and weather. The G10 grips stick to your hand like they were glued there even in the rain. That enhanced action, that's where the magic is. The double-action pull feels deliberate but fluid. The single-action brake is glass rod crisp. Add in Sig's X-ray night sights, and you've got a pistol that finds the target in daylight, low light, or even no light. Being a single stack 45, it's slimmer than most, making it surprisingly comfortable for long carry. Yet it still delivers that authoritative 45 punch, backed by the same rugged reliability that puts Sigs in military holsters around the world. The P220 Legion isn't just another 45, it's a refined combat-ready sidearm for shooters who believe that every detail matters. Once you've run one, you'll understand why people don't just buy them, they keep them for life. When Glock introduced the 10mm G20, it became an instant favorite among those who wanted serious power in a semi-auto. The Gen 5 MOS version takes that legacy and refines it for the modern shooter. This is a big bore pistol that can serve as both a backwoods defense gun and a home defense powerhouse. Chambered in 10mm auto, it offers energy levels rivaling some Magnum revolvers with 15+1 capacity, a huge advantage over wheel guns. Gen 5 updates include the improved marksman barrel for better accuracy, the smoother end DLC finish, and an ambidextrous light stop for easier manipulation. The finger grooves are gone, making the grip more universally comfortable, and the flared magwell speeds up reloads. The MOS, or Modular Optic System Cut, means you can mount a red dot right out of the box. And with modern defensive and hunting 10mm loads, you're well equipped for everything from feral hogs to black bear. Despite its size and power, the Glock 20 is surprisingly manageable. The polymer frame and dual recoil spring system help tame the recoil, making it shootable even for extended range sessions. This is the definition of a do-it-all powerhouse pistol. Whether you're deep in the woods, at the range, or setting it up for nightstand duty, the G20 Gen 5 MOS really delivers. And that's my list. The top 13 game-changing guns of 2025. I'm Steve, and I've handled every single one of these beasts on the range. From hidden gems to all-time legends, they each bring something different to the table. So which one would you pick first? Drop your choice in the comments. Let's hear it.